Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today's video is coming directly from y'all's requests. I was a little hesitant about filming this video, but I'm going to do it for you because this is your channel and I'm making these videos for you. So a lot of y'all asked, Connor, what are all the different ways to make money in real estate? What are all the different exit strategies? And I asked y'all to send me in requests of videos, and this seems to be the most common request, even though I'm a little hesitant about filming it because I don't want to overwhelm y'all. I don't want to distract y'all. I don't want to give you all these distractions that can kind of give you that shiny object syndrome, which is one of the biggest killers of new business owners when they start the real estate business, because they try to do everything at once. They're like, ooh, I want to do mobile homes. Man, apartments, they sound really good too. I want to wholesale houses. I want to be like they are on HGTV and flip houses. Guys, you can't do everything at once. So I'm going to film this video for you. Promise me you're going to pick one strategy, you're going to get good at it, you're going to start making money, and then you're going to slowly transition into these other exit strategies, because you can't do everything good at once. That's the biggest killer of new businesses, right? So hopefully I'm not opening up Pandora's box for you, and I hopefully don't overwhelm a lot of y'all, but I'm going to film this video because this is what you wanted. So have you ever seen one of those posters, like, right, you got the monkey here, and then it goes into like the caveman, and then to the human, and that's the progression or the evolution of man, supposedly, right? So that's kind of what this video is going to be like. I'm going to start at the bottom, where most people start, and I'm going to transition all the way up to the high-end types of real estate strategies. So traditionally, most people just kind of casually get into real estate by being what's called a bird dog. So what's a bird dog? Well, it's an animal. It's a dog. It's a dog that hunts up birds for a bird hunter. So we don't call our house hunters or property locators bird dogs, because that's disrespectful. Nobody wants to be called a dog. You don't want to be called a dog. I don't want to be called a dog. They don't want to be called a dog. So we call them house hunters or property locators, right? So what do? They find motivated seller leads for us. They find people who need to sell their house, and they refer that information to us, usually just a phone number or an address or whatever they do. The more information they give us, the better, the more we pay them. Typically, you pay them $500 to $1,500. In my business, I pay them a lot more than that. Why? Because I'm playing on their greed. The more I pay them, the more deals they bring me, and that's just how the human mind works. We always want more and more and more, so the more I pay them, the more they're going to bring me, so it mutually benefits both of us. So they're out there looking for deals. Who can be a property locator for you? Well, it could be your mother, your brother, your friends, the guy that works at McDonald's, the mailman. Anybody and everybody can be a house hunter for you. So just start planting those seeds and turn everybody into an army, right? Like an investor army. You're building your own house hunter army out there. And over time, you're going to have a lot of leads just being pumped into your business. What comes next after the house hunter? Well, becomes a wholesaler. So who's a wholesaler? A wholesaler is the individual that's trying to get into business, that doesn't have any money to close on houses themselves. It's not financeable, and they don't really have that much money to market and run a big operation. So they have to start out somewhere, right? And you can make money with very little or no money in this business. And wholesaling is the best strategy and the lowest barrier to entry for new investors who don't have a lot of resources on hand. So what's the difference between a house hunter and a wholesaler? Well, the big difference is this. A wholesaler is out there and they understand how to get a house under contract, and then they're also building a buyer's list on the side. They're building a list or a database of rehabbers, landlords, owner finance buyers, that when they get a house under contract for, let's say, $100,000 with the homeowner, they are then going to take that property using equitable title and the contract. They're going to sell that paperwork, the rights to that contract, to another investor like a rehabber who's going to close on it and pay them $110,000. So they contract for $100 and sell it for $110 to that investor for a $10,000 fee through what's called an assignment of contract. We got plenty of videos on wholesaling, and there's going to be more coming out, and it's a great strategy. And if you have a lot of deal flow, it's probably the best strategy that there is. Now, if you don't have a lot of deal flow, which we're about to talk about, rehabbing is probably the best strategy. But there's lots of different ways you can wholesale. Traditional wholesale, assignment of contracts, double closes. Then you can move into joint venture and co-wholesaling. So on that same deal, there would have been another wholesaler that brought you that deal, and you split the profit. So it's $10,000, $5,000, $5,000. You've got virtual wholesaling, which is where you're doing everything virtually at your office. You're never going out into the public. And so we're basically wholesaling these properties virtually. And then the other strategy that we use is what's called a no-hab or a pre-hab, where we're not touching these properties, or we're doing very little to these properties, and we're getting them to a condition where we can sell them for more. You have what's called a buy-in list, where we're closing on the property and putting it on the MLS, because MLS is the world's biggest buyer's list. And then you also have wholesaling, where we're wholesaling a property to a retail buyer, or at the top of the market where it stands. So there's a lot of different ways to make money, and there's a lot of combinations of these wholesale deals crossing and doing different strategies as far as the names that we use, like a joint venture virtual wholesale. It's just a combination of multiple strategies. So I know I threw a lot at you. We have other videos on wholesaling. Go and check these out. But what comes after wholesaling? So as you're wholesaling houses and you're making more money and you're starting to become successful, you start to understand the business better. You can see what your other buyers bought the house at. You can see what they did to the house, and you can see what they sold it for. So you can kind of reverse engineer by watching and tracking the properties that you wholesale. And as you get more confidence and as you get more money in your bank, you can go into doing what's called rehabbing or flipping houses. Just like you see on HGTV. Everybody wants to rehab houses and get those big fat checks, right? So typically, a wholesale deal will be an average of $5,000 to $15,000. Our average wholesale deal is about $10,000. We're happy if we make 15. That's a really good deal. So on a flip property, you're making a little bit more, $20,000 to $40,000. We don't even entertain flipping a house unless we think we're going to make $20,000 on it. It's just not worth the time, energy, or headache to do so. But what we're doing is we're buying a distressed property from a motivated seller. We're fixing it up. We're fixing the foundation, putting a roof on there, doing all the cosmetic updates, new countertops, brand new showers, all those bells and whistles, and forcing the appreciation up. So we buy a house for say 50, put 30,000 in repair, and sell it for 125,000 is a typical type of deal for a lot of you in your market. So we're buying a house that's distressed. We're putting force equity into it by rehabbing the house, and we're selling it to a retail buyer who's going to go get a traditional bank loan. And then that's kind of how that works. And so as you progress and you start to be able to make money in your business and become financeable and show that you're making income, the banks are more likely to work with you. And so then you can go into being a landlord or holding rental properties, which is what's an end goal for a lot of investors. So my business kind of looks like this. I wholesale a couple houses, I flip a couple houses, and I keep a couple notes and a couple rental properties. Because the whole point of everything to do with real estate is this: get the cash flow. Get the passive income. Cash flow or passive income, those are the only words you ever need to know, because this is what's going to retire you early. This is what's going to allow you to not have to worry about retirement or Social Security. This is what's going to allow you to travel the world and do whatever you want, because this money comes in no matter what. It's coming in every single month, right? That's that mailbox money. So our whole goal is to get to cash flow. So we're doing transactional deals with wholesale properties and rehabbing to get to that cash flow. So a landlord is basically buying a property, and we have multiple ways to finance these houses: with your own cash, with other lenders, using leveraging banks, joint venture partnerships. There's lots of ways to do it. We have other videos on this. And so what we're getting, say a typical deal is that we buy a house for 50, we put 30 into it, and we finance out for 80, and it's appraised at 100. So a bank gives us an 80% takeout loan. We have 20% of equity, 20% instant equity, and we have about a cash flow of $400, $500 a month. So what does that mean, cash flow? It means how much money we're making on top each month from all our other liabilities. So we've got taxes, insurance, principal, interest, our PITI, right? And then whatever other liabilities we have, whatever we have to pay each month, minus what we're getting from our rent, is what we're making in our pocket. So that's our cash flow. Now, the goal is to get about 20 properties for most people, and that can basically retire you. So put it like this: every month I have a lot of different individuals living in my community that go to work every day at a job that they do not like, because they're not taking the time to get educated like you do. So they can come back and pay off my house and buy my house for me, and each month they're paying me $400, $500 to have the ability to buy my house for me. And it's a great strategy, because it's long-term wealth generation is what's going to create generational wealth for you and your family. Now, what's another way to create passive income or cash flow? Well, owner financing, what we call seller financing. We're basically being the bank, and there's a lot of different ways, so we're not going to really touch on this too much, but you can do subject to purchase. You can go direct to the seller. You can do owner finance wraps, where you're wrapping a mortgage around another mortgage. You can do loan assumption, guys. Contract for deed. There's so many different ways to do owner financing. Basically, what we're doing is we're being the bank, and we're holding the debt on the property for that person that we sold the property to, and there's no third-party bank in between us. So there's lots of different ways you can make money. Owner financing is a great strategy. What's another strategy? I don't want to talk on this too much because I'm from Texas, and we don't really like lease options here because we can't really do them, at least in the sense that a lot of you around the country can do. But there's lease options. Basically, it's two separate agreements. It's a lease for the property with the option to buy it. So a lot of y'all can do lease options. You can do sandwich lease options, straight line options. Go ahead and see if you can find some other YouTube channels talking about these strategies, because we're not going to touch too much on this strategy on this channel. Now, as you kind of go through all these single-family strategies, you can get into other types of investing, right? You can get into mobile homes. Mobile homes are a great way to make money in this business. That's, in fact, where I hold most of my notes, right? I buy a lot of mobile homes, primarily on their own land. When they're on land, they're no different than a house. Now, if you're in a park, you have a lot of different headaches to deal with. You got to deal with lot rents. You got to deal with the park telling you what you can and cannot do. I highly recommend that you don't buy houses in a mobile home park, even though it seems attractive. If they're on their own land, go for it. They're awesome opportunities. So mobile homes are a great way to make extra money. What else? Land deals. There's so many things you can do with land. Some of the biggest wholesale deals I've known done by other investors in my area were on land deals, getting like 160-acre lots or properties for 2.2 million and wholesaling it for 2.4 million, right? There's a lot of things you can do with land. You can lease out the land to farmers who put their cattle on it. You can lease it to hunters. You can sell parts of your land for oil to be drilled on it, right? If you're by the highway, you can put billboards on your property and lease the billboards. So there's a lot of different things you can do with land. Most commonly, what we're doing is we're wholesaling, we're flipping that land to a developer, which leads us into our next type. You can be a builder. You can go into new construction. You can build single family or commercial, and you're going to need to buy land. So you can buy land at a discount, go to the bank, get a construction loan, and build that property. And new construction is a great way to go, and it's becoming more popular as it does towards the top of each market. But it's risky because if you get caught at the top of the market with a bunch of houses that aren't finished, you're going to get hit pretty hard, and that's how a lot of people went bankrupt. So there's a lot of different things you can do with land and development. Then we get into the commercial side, right? The big properties, big apartment buildings. And there's a lot of benefits to coming with buying apartments, like economies of scale. Instead of having 50 houses that you need to replace 50 roofs on, you can have one big 50-unit building with one big roof, right? There's just a lot of different types of economies of scale. You have all your properties centrally located. You don't have the logistical issues of traveling around to all your rental properties. And there's a lot to do with apartments. Now, this probably isn't the channel to go too much into apartments. We have done small apartment deals, but we're not really into big commercial units. Now, you also have the commercial side of the business, right? Commercial strips. There's all sorts of different types of buildings you can buy, high-rise apartments, big office buildings. I know people that buy commercial buildings and lease them to like places like Subway or all sorts of. There's so many things you can do with commercial, and this isn't the channel for that. I'm just kind of giving you different things you can do. And then, I mean, guys, you can go off like forever and ever. You can go into golf courses, right? You can go into so many different things. But primarily for this channel, we're talking about single family. You start out as a bird dog, property locator, house hunter, whatever you want to call it. Move into transitioning to wholesaling, different types of wholesaling. Go into flipping and rehabbing houses, owning rental properties. And then if you get into new development and apartments and so on, that's kind of how people transition up the ladder. So I hope we kind of touched on a lot of these different ways for you. If I mentioned anything that sounded interesting to you, I'm sure there's a lot of other information out there that you can go find, but we could go on and on and on forever about all these different strategies, and we're going to film other videos on them, but I hope that kind of gives you a basic rundown of all the different ways that you can make money in the business. I hope I didn't overwhelm a lot of you, so try to pick one and do that only. And if you like today's video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, get upcoming notifications of future videos, and hit that like button and share the video around so we can help get seen. So I hope you liked today's video, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day.